Howdy YouTube, and welcome to another episode of the Gunman. So today we've got more spray painting in the garage going on, and yeah, we've got the two security screens. I actually wasn't going to bother making a video on this, and I thought, you know what, if my subscribers find out that I've been spraying at home in the garage, 2-pack paint, and not doing a YouTube video, they'll never forgive me. So what we've got here, as I say, we've got the two security screens. These were not in a good way at all. They were, yeah, so what had happened, right? Obviously the brown here was the factory, how they came, right? Brand new. And then whoever owned this house previously, they have done the most dodgy paint job over the entire house, right? So it's not just here, right? They just brush painted with thick, I think it's some kind of an enamel, because it, like when you try to sand it off, it just heats up and turns all gooey. But they didn't do any prep work, of course, you know, as you don't. So none of it was sticking, and I've just had to do my best to tidy it up because, look, if I was to go and replace these, you know, you're talking hundreds of dollars, and I'd rather spend a few hours just giving them a tidy up just to make them neat and clean. And that's exactly what we're doing. So look, to be completely honest, inside here it's not sticking, but the amount of time that you would spend, that is when, if you wanted to make these perfect, you wouldn't bother. But look, they'll do the job and they'll look fine. So what I'm actually thinking of doing tomorrow morning is masking that out and doing a second color, because I think it'll look a bit silly in the full one color. But yes, I've painted a few jobs in here. Well, yeah, a couple, I think. I've painted some doors, the front, like the hardwood doors of the house. And this setup is bloody wicked. It might not look like much, but compared to previously, oh, I've definitely refined the procedure down. So this is the extraction here. And again, look, what I'll do a separate video, after I've maybe even done a couple more jobs, because I'm actually still adjusting this setup here, right? I'm always adding things, you know, putting a little thing here, and it's just figuring out a better way to run it. So yeah, in a couple of weeks, I'll do another sort of update on the entire system. But for now, I've gone and shunted that in the wall, cut a hole in the wall. So I've got, and that catches 90% of the overspray and the paint. So that's my main thing, right? I want to catch as much of the physical paint as I can in that filter, and it's doing exactly what I want. Like better than I could have imagined or expected. So really happy with that. Obviously I've got a nice amount of lighting, so I've got some extra lights over here. They really do make all the difference. Look, you know, here we are. So I've got some wet on wet primer. I've got it in the gun. I've got one little issue that's happening at the moment, which is the compressor. So previously what was happening with the compressor was, it was, and it was ever since I moved to this house. I think maybe something got bumped when we moved the compressor, but it was, I actually thought that I might have to go and buy something, but clever old me, just I like opening things up and looking to see if I can repair them. I like repairing things. I've got quite good at it over the years, but I opened it up and I looked at it, and there's two little screws. One must be, say, the high pressure, and one was low pressure. So what was happening with the compressors, it wasn't turning off, and it was over pressuring. So the blow-off valve was psh, and that was really annoying. So I managed to adjust it to stop that, but I haven't, but now it's going, I want it to turn on sooner. So on the way down, it gets down to say 50 or 60 before it turns on. I want it to turn on a little bit sooner. Let's just say 70 or 80. Like I want it to stay in a little bit higher pressure, but it's not a big deal at the moment. I'll look into that later. So what happened last time, I used my Gunman Edition Pro Light TE20 1.3, and at full pressure, like when it was right up the top, it was running at 2 bar, but it only ever got down to 20 psi. I can deal with 20 psi. I can do that. So that's why I'm not rushing to fix that, because it might take a bit of patience to sort of tweak it, maybe look up exactly how to get that to kick on sooner. But either way, look, we've got some wet on wet in the gun here. I've got my mask, but yes, I'm not going to be doing any talking once we start spraying, any talking to the camera. I might do a bit of a voiceover later, because once this place is full of fumes, I'm not taking that respirator off to talk to you guys. Ugh, kill myself. But yeah, so what I do when I paint is I've got this little chock here, so I shut the door like that onto that chock, and then I flick this fan on here. So I've got it turned on outside. Same with my compressor, so I can just flick that compressor off from inside here without having to go outside, which is cool. And the fan is here, as you see. And when you're spraying, where I can literally feel that air coming in straight away. Like you can feel that air sucking in. So that's your inlet. And potentially one day down the track, I could sort of maybe even rig something up. Like you could potentially even use these same filters so that the air that's coming in is getting filtered as well. Something to look at maybe down the track. But look, I actually, I was really impressed with how clean the front and rear doors came up. I was like really, really impressed. I was like, man, I've seen worse jobs come out of booths than that. I think one thing that helped was sort of spraying them upright. So I had the other doors sitting pretty much exactly like this. I've got them sitting up on like a little screw. There's a screw, so they're not right down on the cardboard. Obviously I've swept up in here. I don't want to put water on the floor because I don't want to be kicking and having like water flick up onto what I'm painting. But either way, guys, let's get the wet on wet in the gun and paint some shit.
Oh. Let's go.
So that's it, guys. I'll tell you what, they look absolutely amazing. Nearly too good for a shed job, but wow. I tell you what, I've been really impressed with the results that I've been getting out of this shed. It's got a nice, like a very full-bodied, thick coat of paint to it. And of course, I'm really happy with the blacks too. I wasn't sure what I was gonna do with that. And when I was driving down the shops, I was just thinking about the colors that I have here. Like I don't have that sort of a dark brown, which I was originally wanting. And I was thinking, I wonder if I could mix a bit of this white and that black. And I thought, you know what? I've just got some black. I reckon that'll look good. And again, originally I was not going to spend the time to mask up the hinges, but I thought, you know what? It's those little bits of attention to detail which makes all the difference. And I'm glad I did spend the extra little bit of time to do that, because don't they look amazing? A new lease on life. They were very much so worse for wear, including the hardwood doors, which we did in a separate video with some liquid glass. But there you go, guys, amazing. And again, like nice, neat edges. That's one thing that my current boss got me onto, right? It's literally the difference between a good and a bad job, the edges. So nice, neat paint edges. You know, you don't have like overspray on everything. There was a couple of little bits where I did like a little touch up. I didn't actually sand these, so I did the cream color first, and then I went away for a couple of hours, and it just got to the point where it's touch dry. So it didn't even get a bake or anything. However, I did put a little bit of this paint rocket in it, not too much. But they say if you're within the 24-hour window without a bake, right, you don't need to sand, because the paint, it's just like putting an extra coat on. But again, just be careful. Like if you're using super fast accelerators and it's a hot day, or you're using like say a fast thinner or a fast hardener, those times may vary, but look, it's only been 3 or 4 hours, so I was confident that I didn't need to sand it. I didn't want to, because I didn't want to get any extra dust in it, because you know, you're sanding and then you could, when you're painting the black, you could potentially get a couple of little bits of dust in it. But on that, I got really quite clean, like especially for what they are. Like if you looked very close, you may, of course, yes, you will find some imperfections and maybe a couple of little bits of dust in that, but for what they are amazing. Like a nice, good quality 2-pack, high gloss. All these spots, like they look really good. I was surprised. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have been surprised at how much paint I used, but I did use a lot. So what this was is like whenever we paint a 2-pack job at work, like a van or something like that, we'll do it in 2K, which it's direct gloss, right? So you put the hardener straight in with the color. I'll just keep the color because it's not worth throwing out. You might have like a little bit. And then after a while, I'll just sort of turf them all together. And that's what this was, right? So I had about this much, which is what? Probably about 1 liter of just the color. And then at work, oh, hello, you two. Here's Sky and Chocky come in to say hello. Hi. This one's Sky and this one's Chocky. Chocky's blind. Actually, Chocky, but he's the most gentle, kind soul, and same with her. They're the best dogs ever. But where were we? Yeah, so with this, that started off as a white base, of course. I then added like a bit of ochre and a little bit of like red, like a oxide red to it. And then I thought I ruined it. I'm like, man, I blew it. Like I was gonna make it into a nice beigey color. And I'm like, look, I'll just put a bit of black in and see what happens. And I was like, dang, that's what I was looking for. So I actually did all right with that one. Maybe a difficult one to match, but it doesn't have to match anything. They're the only thing that need to be that color on the house. I've got exactly the same story with a couple of different whites here, which hopefully I'm gonna have enough to do I've got 4 interior doors, so 3 bedrooms and the bathroom. Actually, yeah, maybe the toilet as well. So I think I've got 5 doors, which I've got 2 liters for. So, if I go into paint saving mode and maybe just say put 1 coat on, might just have enough. But that's going to be for another video. So hopefully you did enjoy watching this one. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you wanted to support the show, you can always go and check out the link in the description. spraygunsdirect.co.uk have Gunman merchandise, including new spray suits. We've got loads of new spray suits in stock, so be sure to go and check out that link, spraygunsdirect.co.uk. And if you go over there, you can just search Gunman, and anything with Gunman should show up in that search box. So.
Turn around, I feel the breeze over me. You watch your dreams unfold. Let it come around and let it breathe over me.
And this one's Sky. Sky and Chucky.
It's time to go away.
Right here, guys. See you in the next one. Bye.